Hello, beautiful people, and welcome. In this video, we are talking about solving quadratic equations, specifically by factoring. As always, if I make a mistake, please let me know where the mistake occurs so that way we all can learn from them. Let's talk about the zero product property first. If A and B are algebraic expressions, then A times B equals 0 if and only if A is 0 or B is 0. What this means is if you have, let me see if I can get another color here. If you have A times B and you need an answer of 0, this only happens if A is 0 times B, because anything times 0 is 0, or if we have B equals 0. And so the zero product property says that if you have an algebraic expression for A and B, one of them has to be 0 in order for the answer to be 0. We're going to use the zero product property in our solving quadratic equations by factoring. Let's move on to some steps. I have pre-written some steps, but I will be working on an example while reading the steps to you. Make sure that you are writing these down, and then that way you have things to reference when you are coming to class. Writing an equation in standard form is our first step. So I'm noticing I have 3x squared is equal to 4 minus 11x. So I'm going to rearrange this and say I have 3x squared. I'm going to subtract, I'm going to add 11x to both sides. So I have plus 11x. And then I'm going to subtract 4 to both sides. And this is what I'm going to end up having as a standard form. Once it is in standard form, we're moving on to step number 2. We're going to set this equation equal to 0. Once it is equal to 0, we're going to factor. Now, we're not going to worry about the 0 right now. We're just going to factor this section here. Recall your different ways of factoring. This is a trinomial, so 3 terms. We have to see if our leading coefficient is 1. It is not. Our leading coefficient is 3. So I'm going to use this space here to factor using the slip and slide method. If you're not sure about that method, please go ahead and watch that video. So I have x squared plus 11x. 3 times 4 is 12, so minus 12. I'm going to use the guess and check method here. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. That is what we want to multiply to, and we want to add to 11. So I'm thinking 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is 12. However, 3 plus 4, 4, 5, 6 is 7. So that won't work. I'm thinking what other factors we can. What about 12 and 1? So if we want negative 12 plus 1, that is negative 11. But we want positive 11. So what about positive 12 plus a negative 1? That gives me a positive 11. 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. So my factors are positive 12 and a negative 1. So I'm writing out here x plus 12, x minus 1. Now, since my leading coefficient was not 1, remember, you have to divide by your original leading coefficient. In this case, it was 3. X plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. This does not simplify, so I'm going to take this 3, bring it out front. So I have 3x minus 1. So this is my factored form. So once I have it factored, I'm still having it set to 0. So these are my factors, and I'm setting it equal to 0. Then we're going to set each factor equal to 0. So what that means, we're not actually using the factor. We're setting, let's think about bubble. Set each bubble equal to 0. So what I mean by that is, here's one factor. And let's see if I can have another color. And here's another factor. So you're basically setting up 2 separate equations, each one equal to 0. So I'm going to have x plus 4 equal to 0, and I'm going to have 3x minus 1 equal to 0. Now, step number 5 is asking us to solve each equation. So let's do that. I'm going to subtract 4. Here's our dotted line. So I have x is equal to negative 4 for the first one. And I have plus 1 both sides. I have 3x is equal to 1. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X is equal to 1/3. And there you have it. You have solved this quadratic equation using factoring. So when it's asking you for your answer, you can set it different ways. Just bubbles are okay in boxes. Or you can say x is equal to negative 4, comma 1/3. That is fine as well. All right, let's do some more examples. Step number 1 is to rewrite the equation in standard form. So I'm noticing I have a 24 on the opposite side. I'm going to bring it over. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 24 because I'm bringing it over. Set it equal to 0 is step number 2. Step number 3 is factor. I'm noticing I have a leading coefficient here of 1 because it is missing. So off to the side, I'm going to quickly do a guess and check. I have a negative 24 I need to multiply to, and I have a positive 5 I would like to add. Now 24 does have a few factors. I think 8 times 3 is one of them, 6 times 4 is another one. It needs to be, one of them needs to be negative. So let's see, 12 and 2 is another one. So let's see here, 6 times 4 is 24, but I need it to add to 5. So that won't work. Well, what about this one? 8 times 3 is 24, 8, 7, 6, 5, but I need 5 to be positive. So let's go ahead and change that to be positive 8 times a negative 3. So this one won't work, that one won't work, but this one will work. 8 times 3, oh, you guys can't see, I apologize. 8 times 3 is 24. However, 8 plus a negative 3 is a positive 5. So our factors here are 8 and negative 3. Bringing it over here, x plus 8 and x negative 3 minus 3. Still setting it equal to 0 because we have an equation. Our task is to solve for the variables. Once you have factored, we're going to set this up as 2 separate equations. Each bubble gets set equal to 0. I'm going to add, subtract 8 to both sides. So for the first one, I have 8 is equal to negative, x is equal to negative 8. And then this one here, I have plus 3 both sides. So I have x is equal to a positive 3. Again, you can choose to leave your answers like this. It all depends on what the directions say and what your teacher asks of you. So in my class, you can leave it like that, or you can finish writing it off as negative 8, comma 3. Again, this is not a coordinate point. This is just you listing your x values. Let's do another example. Ooh, this one's a little bit more challenging. There's a lot of combining like terms. We need to write this in standard form. So writing this in standard form, I have 9x squares, and I have 5x squares on this side. So I'm going to subtract 5x squared, both sides. Remember, if you're bringing something over to the opposite side, you have to do the opposite operation. So 5, 6, 7, that's 3x squared. Ooh, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I forgot what we were doing. 4. Then I have a 3. So it all depends. Since we have 4x squared here, let's bring everything over. I have a minus 3, minus 3. So this is 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have a positive 9 here left over. My 3's go away, my 5's go away. I have a 12 left over, which I'm going to subtract 12x on both sides. So I have nothing on my right-hand side left over. However, on my left-hand side, let's write this in standard form. I have 4x squared minus 12x plus 9. Step number 2 is setting it equal to 0. I'm just going to box it so we know which equation to use. That is not our answer. Step number 3 is to factor. I'm going to see if I can pull anything out. 4 and 12 do have 4 in common. However, 9 does not have a 4. Therefore, there is no GCF. So that means I'm going to use the slip and slide method to factor. So I have x squared minus 12x. 9 times 4 is 36. We're talking about a positive. Still set equal to 0. And we're going to do a quick guess and check. We want things to multiply to 36, and we want them to add to negative 12. First thing that comes to mind is 6 times 6 is 36. 6 plus 6 is 12. We want these to be both negative, so we're going to do a negative 6 here. Writing it out as our factors, x minus 6 and x minus 6. Again, we have to bring our leading coefficient, well, the one that we multiplied with. Now we are dividing. Now notice these don't simplify to perfect whole numbers. However, we can simplify this. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 4 2 times. So we have here some simplifications, but now we still need to take that denominator and bring it out. So I have 2x minus 3 times 2x minus 3, and that's equal to 0. Once again, you're taking these two. We're going to skip example 4 to save some time and some room. Here we have two separate equations. Let's set each one. Now they are the same, so I'm okay if for this specific question that you only do it once, because you'll end up with the same answer because the equations are the same. So 2x, this is 3, divide by 2, divide by 2. X is equal to 3/2, and I am going to do this once. This is the same equation. So in this case, we only have one solution, and that is x is equal to a positive 3/2. All right, beautiful people, thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.